Part 2, Embracing Security, Building Confidence Amongst Fear. And now once again, we want to understand why embracing security matters. Here I have, it allows you to thrive in the face of fear. In the midst of uncertainty and fear, a sense of security is your greatest ally. It's not about relying on external factors, but cultivating an internal belief in your ability to handle challenges. This inner security allows you to thrive in the face of fear, transforming it into a guiding force. Now, what better security than the security we can provide ourselves, right? Where we don't have to rely or depend on anything outside of us, but cultivating a sense of being, a mindset, a sense of security and confidence and belief and trust in ourselves that whenever any form of obstacle comes to surface and we have to face our fear, we are more than capable of doing so, which is what we're going to be stepping into here in this part 2 of the lesson. Bringing me into embracing fear as a guide, as we discussed before. But here we're going to enhance what it really means to do so, as fear is not a hindrance, it's a compass, pointing us to areas that need strengthening. By recognizing and embracing our fears, we can convert them into stepping stones for personal growth. Now, what would that be, and what does that look like, right? For everyone, it's subjective. It's going to be a different experience. But when you realize that you want to live a life that is more empowered, it's more confident, it's more trusting in self and others, right? You quickly realize that having fear will not benefit you in the intention of becoming such, because it's going to literally contradict that very intention of where you see yourself moving forward to. You cannot reach certain levels of personal growth if you have elements within you that are weakening your foundation. So this is why at this level, at this phase of the course, we are focusing on the foundation that is rooting ourselves deep within the soil, so that when we grow and flourish, we can grow as tall and as high as we want and become as strong and wide as we want, because we learn to cultivate enough anchoring in our soil to stabilize the foundation of our very being. Because without that firm foundation, our house can quickly crumble. And if your foundation is not rooted deeply within all that we are, as we get to know more of the self through the process of this very course of self-mastery, any little thing can shake you up. Any little thing can take you off course. Any little thing can take you out of character. Any little thing can emotionally trigger you to react in ways that will not only disservice you, but those who have to be in your proximity, right? So it's a ripple effect that if we are not solidified within, it doesn't only affect us, it affects everyone else around us and those who are being influenced by us, by the example that we are giving. Because as we work on ourselves, we are leading that example by first taking the lead to do that work. So when you realize that you are attempting with your intention to create a solid foundation of your very being, by embracing fear as a guide, what you're doing is you are becoming aware of your weak points. And what does that look like? If you get triggered by something, what's the first thing you think? Right now, without being self-mastered, you're more than likely going to react to it. Whether that's through rage, through defensiveness, through bitterness, through fear, and so on. Because you're not grounded in your foundation, meaning you could still be shaken. But when you become solidified in that foundation, you become unshakable, right? And that is the goal. That is the true definition of becoming self-mastered, because you are remaining solidified in your authority of self. You are remaining in the honor that you want to give yourself by becoming sovereign of how you act or react, but instead rather respond with the wisdom that you are gaining today. So, what are some practices to cultivate that very security that's going to solidify that foundation, so that when we thrive with that security of knowing that we are stabilized in our very being? One way to do so is by relabeling fear as excitement. This one is a very interesting one that I've been using for years, and it has worked greatly throughout the course of my own fears throughout the years. And this would be reinterpret the sensations of fear as the excitement of embarking on a challenge. The psychological responses to fear and excitement are similar. And by reframing your perception, you can harness that energy for positive action, right? So let's bring it back to the excitement of public speaking, right? This I used to sing in school and choir and did dance class and all these exciting things. I was always very active and very creative, and I love any form of performance. I was always into that. But the irony was that even though I loved it so much, I was always so nervous, and I would freeze sometimes. And I remember I used to push myself, because the excitement of doing the very thing that I enjoyed and I was so passionate about allowed me to change that very nervousness and fear of being seen into excitement. And I remember, I can't recall what coach I heard saying this. Convince yourself that your fear is actually excitement for a new challenge. It's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I've been doing this whole time, because I was just so excited to actually do what I love and enjoy doing, that I would convince myself that, well, at least I get to do it in front of somebody, because somebody got to see me, right? So I would convince myself and overcome that fear. And once I would start dancing or singing or acting or whatever it is that I was doing on stage during all these recitals and school events, and because I went to performing arts school, it was an instant transformation. It's like once I started whatever it is I did, the fear just dissipated. So I learned at that very young age to transform or reinterpret that very fear into excitement. And when you do this, even if you have to convince yourself, because if it's too massive, right? If it's something maybe you don't want to do, maybe it's something that you're not excited about, but you have to do it. You have to present maybe a presentation at work or at school, and you don't like speaking, and you're not really passionate about this project or very thing that you have to do. You have to be excited about the challenge that you are about to endeavor in. Be excited about overcoming your own fear. Be excited about the challenge that you're placing yourself in, so that fear can cease to exist in your experience, so that when you do have to get up, the last thing you're worried about is the emotional state of fear. And if you do feel fear, make sure that you reinterpret it into excitement and say to yourself, oh, nice, a nice opportunity for me to get more comfortable with myself speaking out in public, or another opportunity for me to overcome this fear that I've had, or another obstacle for me to gain that confidence that I need, so that when I do stand up and do what I need to do, it is going to overcome and overpower that very fear that I'm experiencing right now. Because the more I do it, the more comfortable I get with it, and the more comfortable I get with it, the more natural it becomes, and the more natural it becomes, the more mastery comes to be, which is me becoming self-mastered of that very fear. Now, what once was a weakness in me has allowed me to become mastered in my being by making it a practice that allows me to overcome it to the point that I have strengthened that very weakness into my own self-mastery of self. For the next one, we have elevating emotions. Use your knowledge of your emotional consciousness chart to elevate from fear into emotions like anger or rage. These emotions are one step higher than fear, making them more empowering. Now, this one here is very important. If you're still in school, work, or anything, and if any moment you may have experienced any form of bullying or manipulation and so on, or people abusing their power over you, this is something that has always worked for me. I remember the first and last time that someone attempted to bully me in school. I remember she was an 8th grader and I was in 6th grade. I had just started middle school, and at this time I had these little butterflies in my hair, and it was like little clips of butterflies. And I grew up, in the Bronx, New York, so it was already a rough environment. I was already prone to getting in a few conflicts because of how I looked, who I was. I think, it was all these assumptions, all these challenges that molded me into being very, very independent and empowered in myself because of moments like this when I did exactly this. I recall that when she attempted to take the butterfly off my hair, I remember I had like little twists, and I had a butterfly for each little twist I had. We were coming up the stairs from recess, and she decided to pick one off my hair. At first, I turned around thinking it was one of my friends playing a joke on me or something like that. So I turned around with a slight smile on my face, I remember, and then I quickly realized, I don't know this person, and why are you touching me? The fact that it was someone that I didn't know, the fact that she touched me without consenting me or even knowing me, placed me in the emotion of rage rather than fear. And I think that has saved me a lot in my life, because instead of feeling the fear that would naturally come to someone if they experience in a situation like that a bully that's like 3 times taller than you and who is known for bullying people, the natural reaction or response to that would be feeling fear and shutting down and allowing her to do that to me, right? That would be a natural response. But because the trigger, I guess, of the disrespect, of the pretty much the disrespect, and it's just the principle. Like, who do you think you are touching me like that, right? That was my reaction. All I remember feeling was rage. And with the simple fact that because of that very rage, the emotion of fear faded away, I stepped into a more empowered state. And because of that empowered state of rage, which is higher than fear, not because it's empowering, but it is higher than fear, because fear, if you look at the chart from David R. Hawkins, he has a consciousness chart that gives you the labels and where all of these emotions lie in the spectrum. You quickly realize that as long as you are rising above the last emotional state, you are always evolving, you are always growing, and you are always elevating, right? So even in scenarios where you are in fear, find ways to elevate your emotions by channeling that anger or rage that's going to allow yourself to stand up for yourself, to step into the position that you need to take that risk, to take that leap of faith if necessary, because the rage is more empowering than the fear. And because of that very rage, I was able not only to stand up to this bully and look her straight in the eye, faced her, I was able to grab my little butterfly out of her hand as I squeezed and penetrated my long, strong nails into her hand until she let go. And I quickly just put that butterfly right on my little twist and went right into school. Now, that could have gone many other ways. She could have attacked me. She could have pushed me. She could have done anything at that point. But the fact is that the worst case scenario did not happen. In fact, I think she was impressed by the fact that I stood up to her and was able to do that, because never did she bother me again. And when we started playing volleyball, she ended up being one of my playmates, and we ended up getting close because she had respect for me for that one time and never saw me as the girl that dared to take the butterfly out of my hands after I attempted to bully her. No, her reaction to me was, oh, she's cool. She's a cool girl. She's actually dope. I like her and she plays good, right? It was never about what I thought she would have said, and I would have not cared anyway. But the fact is that whenever you fear anything, attempt to elevate your emotional state by stepping into things like rage or anger, which are much higher. Bringing me to the last one we have here, which is switching focus to joyous feelings. This could be very similar to the one I just explained, but this one goes into a much positive state. So when fear takes hold, shift your focus to emotions like love, gratitude, or joy. This practice allows you to master the art of polarizing the energy from fear to positive, empowering states. So this one in particular, I've used a lot in many different ways, many different scenarios, and so on, right? So let's say you have scenarios where someone gives you unsolicited advice about something that you're working on or something that you're doing and something that you're planning on, right? And here they come with the concerns and the fears and the possibilities of all the bad things that could happen that can easily influence you into the motion of fear, because now your thoughts are going on and now you're thinking of all the possibilities that are going and whatever, right? So when you reach the next levels of the mastery, self-mastery cultivation courses, because there's going to be levels to this, but at level 1 you're not really going to understand what I'm going to do here. But when you bring yourself into the awareness of observation and you come into the realization that what you are experiencing externally is only but a projection of your internal dialogue and narrative and programming and conditioning and current fears and so on, you can use that very moment as you observe what is going on, as you participate through the experience of life, to be grateful for that moment instead of falling into the trap of falling into the fear, right? For example, instead of doing that, and instead of allowing your thoughts to take over and your imagination to envision all these possibilities that can go wrong, be in the energy of love. Reframe yourself. If you have to even lie to yourself, do so. Let's say this is someone that you care about giving you this information. The first thing you can do is, I love them so much because I know they're doing this out of love. They want to make sure I'm safe. They want to make sure that I'm going to be secure in what I'm doing. They want to make sure that what I'm planning is a good plan so that I don't fail, right? Because they don't know that I learned to fail. I enjoy the process, whether it's to fail or to win, because I'm always going to reframe the failure into something of benefit for me, right? But I love them for this moment that they are concerned enough to give me their perception, right? Because they're now projecting the possibilities of how they would feel if they were in my shoes doing this and so on. So I understand them. I can change my perception into a perspective that allows me to not only see my point of view, but also their point of view. So when you do that, what you're doing is you're entering into the energy or to the practice of empathy, because you're not allowing your perception to close you into the box of only your assumption, your vision, your beliefs, and so on. You are allowing yourself to see the point of view of another person by entering their perspective of it and seeing what they mean from their point of view, from their own belief system, from their own lack mindset, from their own insecurities, and from their fears. And you learn to accept everyone for that point of view. And instead of allowing it to influence you, because now you are aware that well, by me receiving this advice or this point of view, I am going to place myself in a disadvantage, and therefore placing myself out of the motion of trusting myself. So I'm not going to accept it, but I am going to be grateful for it, because I know it's coming out of love, and I know it's coming from a perception that they have of their own abilities, of their own doing, and they're attempting to place themselves in my shoes, and they're seeing how it could affect them if they were to do what I'm doing. So I love them for that, and I am also grateful that they care enough to even give me the advice, even if I didn't ask for it, because I'm choosing to see it that it's coming from a place of love, because I know by me choosing to see it that way and enhancing the love that I want to believe is there, and allowing myself to step into the energy of gratitude, this level of joy comes into my awareness, therefore elevating my emotional state. And with the combination of love, gratitude, and joy, you don't have to do all three, but if you want to be creative, go ahead and do as many as you like. You can reframe that whole experience to serve you and be placed in your perception as an advantage, because you're not allowing yourself to step into the energy of fear, because these three emotional states are way too high in the spectrum for me to do so. And because I know that doing that serves me better than me stepping into fear, my free will allows me to choose between fear or love. And you can't have both at the same time. So by switching our focus to more higher vibrational emotional states, we make lemonade out of the lemons that we just received. And that's only because I chose to perceive it in that light. But I can also choose to see it in a negative light, right? And I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'm going to show you how much we are disempowering ourselves by doing so. Because if you choose to, let's say, perceive it in a negative light, you can say, oh, this person is always criticizing everything I do. They never believe in me. They never want me to do anything. They just want me to be stuck in this little box just like them. And now they're trying to infiltrate my energy with fear. And because they want me to stay stuck, and they know that they're trying to scare me so they can control me. And because they want to control me, they're trying to manipulate me and belittle me and show me all the possibilities of all the things that can go wrong, because they hate me, because they are jealous of me, right? That's how we can see a negative. Because if we choose to see a negative, that's the direction we're going. Now, how does that perception serve you is now the question. Does that give you more courage to move forward? Does that give you the vision that you need to see the path forward? Does that give you the motivation that you need? For some people, it can be. You can use people's negative to motivate you in your positive. That's another way you can do it. But this is something we're going to learn with time. For right now, we want to keep it in the basics. In the basics of aligning ourselves in the position that's going to create the foundation to completely solidify in its position so that it can become unshakable, right? So I'm giving you the possibilities of how we can choose to perceive the life that we are living. Now, by me perceiving it in the negative, it's not giving me what I need. It's not empowering me. It's not making me feel loved. It's not making me feel supported. And only we are responsible for what we choose to believe as truth. Therefore, you see some people living in their made-up hell and their made-up heaven because they're the ones choosing how they choose to perceive their own experience. And if you choose to perceive your experience in a negative light, then you are choosing to suffer. You are choosing to be in your pain and negative and pessimistic thoughts, and only you have control over that. I can't teach you how to do it. No one can tell you. No one can do anything for you. Only you can save yourself out of that by choosing how you want to perceive your experiences and everything that's around it, because it is indeed only a projection of what's happening within you. So once you start reframing what is happening and making sure that you're going in the direction of elevation, in the direction of mastery, in the direction of empowerment, of sovereignty, then you're going to choose wisely how you choose to experience your reality. Now, what are the benefits of embracing security? The first one we have here is increased confidence. Embracing security empowers you to confront your fears with confidence, making you more resilient in the face of challenges, just like we discussed previously. The next one, enhance resilience. You'll discover that you have the inner strength to handle even the most intimidating situation. Just like the example I provided you, because I stepped into rage, I channeled the resilience that I needed to overcome that situation, because I learned to filter and navigate that experience to place me in the position of empowerment and not victim living in fear. The next one, personal growth. By using fear as a guide and cultivating security, you'll grow as a person, continuously improving and reaching your potential. So if you start to introduce these practices into your daily life and you start to feel excited about these challenges that you're giving yourself so that you can build that confidence, little by little, one step at a time, you'll start changing into the person you envision yourself to be in the future. Your goals will start manifesting little by little, because the foundation you are building everything on is going to be solidified through the practice of this course in itself. Bringing me into the conclusion. Security is not about eliminating fear. It's about having the confidence to face fear head on and transform it into a driving force. By practicing these techniques, you'll be equipped to navigate your self-mastery journey with unwavering confidence. Embrace fear as your ally on the path to personal growth, and remember that you have the power to convert fear into the energy that propels you towards your goals.